Joining us now is Texas Senator Ted Cruz, who was in the room tonight. Senator Cruz, you were close to him throughout the entire process, at least in proximity on the stage as he went through the campaign, and you've had your own sort of ups and downs with this president. What did you think about tonight?
I thought tonight was a bold, positive speech. It laid out a vision for America that I think millions of Americans have been hungry for. It is a vision that focuses first and foremost on bringing back jobs and economic growth. And that's what I hear from Texans all across our great state. It's what I hear all across the country, is that after 8 years of stagnation, of jobs fleeing the country, of wages stuck in the mud, we're ready to see booming economic growth again. And the keys to growth are repealing Obamacare, our regulatory reform, and tax reform. And we heard a great deal tonight about repealing Obamacare, regulatory reform, and tax reform. It was a very encouraging night.
Well, Senator, we apologize for the motorcades that are going by behind us. We're not under arrest or anything like that. We want to continue this interview.
Senator, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Thank you very much.
Senator, what about the call for immigration reform? I mean, having been on the debate stage with then candidate Donald Trump and having been on the back end of some pretty aggressive questioning about immigration and the issue of immigration, where do you think that stands?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the most poignant moments of the entire speech was when the president recognized the families of those who have been murdered by criminal illegal aliens. And I've had the opportunity to visit with family members in exactly that circumstance. And it was powerful. It was real. Those are voices that much of the media doesn't allow to be heard. And it was really important for the president to highlight that. You know, just last week I was down in McAllen on the Texas border in the Rio Grande Valley, and I went to the muster of the midnight shift of the Border Patrol, and the relief among the Border Patrol at finally having a president and an administration that will enforce the law was palpable. These are men and women that risk their lives to keep our country safe, and they've been so frustrated by 8 years of an Obama administration that would release violent criminal illegal aliens. They're really grateful now to have an administration that's willing to enforce the law.
Senator Cruz, what do you think about the fact that you're not hearing a lot of fiscal conservatism from President Trump at this point? He's not talking about reform with regard to Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid, and yet he's talking about spending quite a bit of money on things like infrastructure.
Well, look, we will certainly look at the details of the budget, and there is no doubt that we've got to be serious about the national debt and the deficit every year. But the most potent tool for dealing with the national debt and the deficit is not cost cutting, it's economic growth. Economic growth is the only first order variable. It's why my number one priority in the Senate is and always has been jobs and economic growth. You know, if you look historically since World War II, we've averaged about 3.3% growth a year. Under Obama, we saw growth year after year of just 1% and 2%. That anemic growth, we can't fix these problems. And it's why I was so encouraged by President Trump's speech tonight. He focused very hard on regulatory reform, on building the Keystone Pipeline, on lifting job-crushing regulations, on lifting the crushing regulations of the FDA, allowing innovation in pharmaceuticals, on tax reform, Obamacare repeal, and reg reform. That will produce enormous economic growth, millions of new jobs. That's how we pay down our debt, and that's how we solve our fiscal crisis.
Senator, quickly, if you could, can Republicans sing from the same sheet of music when it comes to Obamacare repeal and replace?
I believe we can, and I believe we must. I think we have to honor our commitment. We've campaigned for 6 years promising to repeal Obamacare. And I think what we need to do is start with the 2015 legislation. In 2015, virtually every Republican voted to repeal Obamacare. We need to start with that legislation. On top of that, we need to repeal the insurance mandates that are driving up premiums, that are making health care unaffordable. And then we should focus on areas of consensus, areas that bring Republicans together, like allowing purchase of insurance across state lines, like expanding health savings accounts and making health insurance portable. If we focus on areas of consensus, that's how we get it done, and I believe we are going to get it done. I'm working very, very hard to try to bring my colleagues together in both the Senate and the House with the administration to fulfill the promise we made to the American people.
Senator Cruz, we appreciate your time joining us from Statuary Hall tonight. Thank you.
Bring our
Thank you,
panel
Brett.
back in. Britt, let me